الحمد لله رب العالمين
الرحمن الرحيم. Not R. Not R. How do we read alif or hamza on its own? Hamza with the fatha is a. So when we connect it to ra, we're not going to say a. No, we're not going to say al either. Now your ra no longer is heavy. Now your hamza is heavy. So listen. So you understand the theory. The problem is you can't hear it in your mind the right way. Or maybe you can imagine what it should sound like, and when you try it, it doesn't come out properly, right? So the best way to mitigate that is listen more and try more. Just is practicing, first listening and then practicing. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Good. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Na'ar. Look, when something is heavy, your mouth should round. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Very good, mashallah. There's an improvement there. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim.
الرحمن الرحيم
مالك يوم الدين
مالك يوم الدين
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
إياك نعبد وإياك إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم
اهدنا
not what does Hamza with Kasr sound like? Hamza with Kasr on its own. Now that means your E cannot become That means you're saying Hamza with Kasr is It's not it's yeah, so ihdinas. Yes. Ihdinas. Not nas. Not nos.
This is not like I'm stuck on it.
Okay. Ihdinas. Not nos. I'm hearing everyone say nos. Not nos. Not nas. You fix your noon, you ruin the thought, right? Ihdinas. Good, but you're inserting an ayn between the noon and the sad.
It's like I'm using my throat.
You're saying nos. You have to remember, noon with the fatha does not have the quality of isti'la. It should not ever be no.
Yeah.
Okay? It should be na. Na. Ihdinas. Better. Okay. So don't overstress the noon having a fatha. Just say na. Very lightly come. Ihdinas. Naus. You're getting better.
Okay. But it's kind of like it kind of flows. It's like nos. I don't know.
No, you're saying nos. No, na.
Nas.
Ihdinas sirah.
I don't think I make that name.
It'll get better with practice. Like, there's no theory to how you can correct this. It's just practicing will help you get better at this.
One of the things that helped me with the noon is like now. It helped me because sword is heavy. Automatically, you're gonna roll your mouth.
Yeah, it's just about the moving of the mouth, as he's describing. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
طل not طل.
اهدنا الصراط.
طل.
اهدنا الصراط.
صراط. not طل طل
صراط المستقيم
not طا not طا مستقيم not key. No, it's not kaf, it's qaf. Mustaqim. Very good. So this ayah is definitely the one that needs to be worked on the most. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم
غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
غير المغضوب
Ghain is heavy, mim is light. So مغضوب عليهم ولا ولد So your mouth has to go from light to heavy. Loud.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
ولا You'll get that too, inshallah.
Some breathing exercises.
If you want to build lung capacity, most of the times your lungs are not weak. It's just you don't know how to breathe. Most people don't know how to breathe. The way you breathe is before you recite the ayah, take a deep breath, not into your lungs. Your lungs should not move into your stomach. So if you put your hand on your chest, the only thing that should move is your stomach outwards.
This is really weird. This is weird.
That's how you're supposed to do.
No, actually, if you study music, you study singing, you study recitation, you even study yoga, you study any science of breathing, diaphragmatic breathing is what's emphasized. Breathing in through the diaphragm, which is where you feel your stomach is. Your lungs will eventually expand, but the best way to expand your lungs is to first expand your stomach till it can no longer expand, and then your lungs expand. So you're breathing in from the bottom up.
Like a 2 tanks.
If you only breathe in through your lungs, you've left all this area for expansion useless. Your diaphragm has not fully retracted downwards to allow your lungs to expand fully. So when you take a good breath, reciting long ayah is easy. You know, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى. Easy, right? Like I'm not stressing, I'm not straining, I'm not out of breath. But every person who breathes properly has this capacity. This is not due to some training. You know, even a smoker can do that. Like, truthfully, even with someone with weakened lungs can do that if they learn how to breathe.
That's really interesting. Because you're the first person to ever tell me that.
I've always breathing?
Yeah, I've never heard of small breathing.
Yeah. When you breathe through your chest, you're anxious, you're not able to hold your air. So you waste a lot of air when you recite the Quran. When you recite the Quran, you breathe out more than you need to breathe out. Right? So like, the idea when you recite is you should only breathe out with sound. Not just breathe out for no reason. I can't say, Alhamdu. Like, I can't just exhale for no reason. I'm only exhaling if I'm reciting. So this is inshallah something that will improve. And it's good to work on it, because as reciters of the Quran, the idea is we don't want to stop in the middle of an ayah unless there's a need, right? And sometimes there's no need. The reality is we can better our skills so that we don't have that need constantly, but it's going to require a little bit of practice, inshallah. So anyhow, غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
غير المغضوب عليهم
الضالين.
So I have a question on Hamzat al-Wasl on al-Dhalin. Do we skip the alif? Do we skip the lam as well, or is that lam also walad? So
yeah, we're skipping the alif and wala, okay, and we're skipping the alif lam before dhalin.
So we're going from the lam of wala to
the dad directly. Yes, yes. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Good. I mean, so just as a preface, the more it is you listen to good reciters of the Quran, I'm prefacing this discussion of like how to recite the next few surah with this discussion, because this is a common mistake that people listen to good reciters of the Quran and their immediate focus is, I want to sound like them. Right?
Like today,
you want to sound like that person. But first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with wanting to sound like someone who Allah beautified their voice. The Prophet ﷺ liked to listen to the Quran from other than himself. He enjoyed the recitation of other people. There's nothing wrong with that. But Imam Jazari rahimahullah, in his poem that we started at the beginning of this class, he describes tajweed as the very thing that beautifies a person's Quran. Right? The baseline beautification is tajweed. Of course, if two people have equivalent tajweed, and one has a longer voice, and one has a more melodious voice, and one has more spiritual connection to the words that they're reading, of course, that recitation will have a greater impact on the listener. But if a person jumps to gain that, all of the writs, the beautification beyond tajweed, without learning tajweed, then there's a problem. Alright? So, he says, وَالْأَخْذُ بِالتَّجْوِيدِ حَتْمٌ لَازِمُ مَنْ لَمْ يُجَوِّدِ الْقُرْآنَ آثِمُ لِأَنَّهُ بِهِ الْإِلَهُ أَنْزَلَ وَهَكَذَا مِنْهُ إِلَيْنَا وَصَلَ وَهُوَ أَيْضًا حِلْيَةُ التِّلَاوَةِ وزينة الأداء والقراءة وهو إعطاء الحروف حقها من صفة لها ومستحقها ورد كل واحد لأصله واللفظ في نظيره كمثله مكملا من غير ما تكلف باللطف في النطق بلا تعسف وليس بينه وبين تركه إلا رياضة رئم بفكه. So in this section of that poem, Imam Jazari rahimahullah, he says this is the chapter Babu Ma'rifat al-Tajweed. This is what Tajweed is all about. How do you recognize Tajweed? He says reciting with Tajweed, Hatmun Lazim, was absolutely incumbent and necessary on every person. For indeed, Man lam yujawwid al-Quran athimu, the person who doesn't recite with Tajweed, athim, that person is a, what's athim? Sinner. A sinner. Itham, right? Such a person is a sinner. Why? لِأَنَّهُ بِهِ الْإِلَهُ أَنزَلَ. Because with tajweed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran. وَهَكَذَا, and with that tajweed, مِنْهُ إِلَيْنَا وَصَلَ, from Allah, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it reached us in that same manner. So we are the weak link in history that is changing the Quran if we're not reciting with tajweed. And indeed, he says, tajweed is also a beautification of your recitation. So the whole point of me mentioning this poem was to highlight this point, that tajweed is hilyatul tilawa. It's the very jewels, it's the very makeup that you put on top of your voice. It's what beautifies the Quran, and anyone who thinks something else will beautify the Quran more than tajweed is wrong. Right? There are other things you can do, hypothetically, to beautify your voice. You can learn the maqamat. You can learn how to recite the Quran in different tunes, sad tunes and happy tunes, and jalali, like majestic tunes, and like bold, overbearing tunes based on what you're feeling. Those are all methods of invoking emotion. That's fine. That's good. Nothing wrong. If somebody reads in a manner that is in accordance to their emotion. But if they think that they can, effectively recite beautifully without learning the basics of tajweed, they're wrong.
I was gonna ask, so is I've heard this, like, I guess this debate or whatever go on. Is a person born with a voice?
Of course,
There's like natural, just born.
There's people with beautiful voices that are born. SubhanAllah, you know, they're babies who sound different from other babies.
But if a person, their voice, let's say it's not the best.
But tajweed will beautify their voice, of course. Learning how to recite, listening to reciters, they'll definitely improve. Right? So some people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them a God-gifted voice, like Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes his voice as mizmar, that it was like a flute, right? Mizmarun min ali Dawood. In one hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam describes someone's recitation as their voice as a flute from the children of Dawood alayhi salam. So they were known for their melodious voice. Today you want a sweet, high-pitched, clear, crystal clear voice. Only some nationalities of people are given that honor. Like listen to the Bengali community. They have voices that are naturally very melodious, very high-pitched, beautiful. You want someone that has a very deep, you know, go to the Egyptian people. Their voices naturally, maybe it's the pollution, maybe it's something else. Yeah, so they have a naturally beautiful voice that has qualities different to other than them. So there's this, of course. But then there's not using that voice in the right way, which is not learning the tajweed. That would enhance their recitation first, more so than anything else. So anyhow, we're going to now have you all practice Surah Al-Fatiha 3 times, and then we'll listen to you one-on-one, inshallah.